I also want to thank Amy Perchuk, Suze Littman, and especially Avery Cleary, who is on the phone with us today, for their support in making this webinar happen and just with my work in general. Avery is the Director of Grassroots Outreach and Engagement, and Amy is the Director of Network Communications, and Suze is the Director of Social Media and Partnerships with the Children in Nature Network. Before we close, we're going to be talking about the next webinar also, but I wanted to go over the agenda real quick for today. We'll be starting with the purpose of the webinar, and then I'll move into some discussion about the grassroots gathering that we just had in August in Shepherdstown. I have some news on what's new, and then I'm going to be letting a couple of special guests steal the show. We have Nkrumah Frazier with the South Mississippi Family Nature Fan Club and Heather Culkin with Austin Families in Nature that are going to be sharing about their clubs so that we can start to learn and share with each other about that. And then, like I said, we will be talking about the next webinar before this one is over so we can get set up for it. And then we will close with some action items for you to go away with. So I always like to start meetings by sharing the vision of whatever the organization is. In this case, it's obviously CNN. And the vision for them is a world in which all children play, learn, and grow with nature in their everyday lives, with an emphasis being all children. Our Family Nature Club here in San Diego actually adopted that vision for its own vision, of course giving credit to CNN. And I would encourage you, it's just nice and succinct and really is perfect for what it is that we're doing. So it kind of guides all of our work. The purpose of the webinars are really just to help with regular connections and news with each other, to provide a support system with each other, to help us grow and expand our work, and then, of course, to share strategies and models, which will be part of every webinar that we do. Moving on to the grassroots gathering, first of all, I wish everyone could have participated in both the grassroots gathering itself and the pre-conference gathering on equity and diversity and natural cultural capacity. I don't really have time to go over everything that happened, but I would like to hit on some key outcomes from the pre-conference gathering and then highlight the process that was utilized and some of the outcomes from the gathering itself. So at the pre-conference gathering, discussion really centered around equity, diversity, and natural cultural capacity, and the fact that all children need nature. That's really become one of the main goals that CNN is working toward. And we're working toward a movement to reverse a trend of disconnect to the natural world. Richard Louv, of course, was there, and he defined natural cultural capacity as a move from thinking about barriers to thinking about capacities and working with underrepresented communities. So in other words, what do various cultures know about connecting to nature? What do they bring to the table? How are they already connecting? And how can we meet people where they're at? That's really what it boils down to, is kind of finding what people's natural capacity is, and then meeting them there and honoring and acknowledging where they're at and moving forward together. So one outcome was that there are working groups that were established with the pre-conference gathering that are going to be continuing the conversation. You can see some of those listed there. I believe there are a couple more, but there's a group looking at communication and the cool factor. So how do we make nature cool, particularly for older youth, and getting them engaged. Community asset mapping, which again gets back to the natural cultural capacity. How does fear play into connecting children and nature in underrepresented communities? So one thing that really struck me was we talk about going to the woods a lot. That has a completely different meaning for the Black community that I, as a white woman, had never even thought of before. So just as we're thinking about things, being, really aware of these topic areas, and privilege was another one. So each of these groups is going to be coming up with a plan of action steps that are recommended for CNN to take by February. So you will be hearing definitely more from each of these groups. Another outcome from the gathering itself was that we used a forum called Open Space Technology this year that really facilitated growing discussions and fluid discussions around a variety of topics. I believe there are about 20 topics that came out from the participants themselves. So this year we were really able to talk about things that were important to us. My focus, of course, was family nature clubs, and we had some great conversations around that. And there were topics ranging from regional needs to connecting youth and nature to how to make nature cool. Some of the stuff played in from the pre-conference gathering to the gathering itself. There is a document that I will be including links. I'm going to give a follow-up email to everyone, and I'll be including links to several things that are coming up during the conversation today, so don't worry about writing down any links or websites that come up. I will include them in the follow-up email. But there is a document available for anyone who would like to get more information about the gathering itself, so I will be sure to include that. One of the things that came up that was an outcome of the conversation that took place at the grassroots gathering was that we opened the Natural Families Network this month to any and all families who consider themselves to be natural families. Does everybody see the little hand down underneath the list of names? If you do and you know that the Natural Families Network has been opened up, go ahead and click on that hand. That's how you raise your hand. If you have a question or you need something, you can't hear me, anything that is the problem. But right now, if you know that it's opened up, go ahead and raise your hand so that I can see that. Wonderful. Okay, put your hands down. Isn't this fun? And now raise your hand if you are already part of the Natural Families Network on CNN Connect. Okay, wonderful. If you haven't joined yet, I would invite you to do so. You can go ahead and put your hands down now. Thank you. And I wanted to let you know also that we just, a couple of weeks ago, finished creating this certificate that you see on the screen about celebrating natural families. We kind of modeled it after the Natural Teacher Network, but we wanted it to be more of a celebration and not quite so academic. But you can see that the certificate talks about valuing the natural world, taking children and families outside on a regular basis as often as possible. It talks about believing that children who spend time in nature are happier, healthier, and smarter. And it talks about how folks aspire to share their experiences and with other families and encourage them also to join the movement. So we're really hoping this is going to help the grassroots movement grow, and we'll have more families now. We have 159 families or participants on the Natural Families Network now. We're hoping to grow that number, of course, and in fact to grow the movement. With that, Cheryl Charles, who is the president and CEO of the Children in Nature Network, wrote a beautiful welcome letter to families who are joining the Natural Families Network. And in it she says, if you call yourselves a family and you do healthy things outdoors to connect with nature, then you are a natural family. So I would like to encourage all of you to encourage your friends and families, and if you have nature clubs or families at your schools or whoever, to get onto the CNN Connect, download the certificate just as a celebration, something to talk about as a family and make it a priority and a family value. Additionally, in response to feedback from the gathering and feedback received after the spring webinar that we did, we created a new CNN Connect group that is specifically for Family Nature Club leaders. I just started it about a week and a half ago, so there are only about 9 people in it right now, but this group is designed to facilitate communication and support between and amongst Family Nature Club leaders and organizers. So if you're just a Family Nature Club member or you haven't started a club yet, the Natural Families Network would be the place for you. But if you are a Family Nature Club leader and want to share information, receive information, be a support for other Family Nature Club leaders, then this would be the group for you. So if you haven't joined yet, that's another thing you can add to your list of things to do. Moving on to some more news from the network, we have a couple of surveys that are out right now. If you could raise your hand and let me know if you know about this survey, that would be great. Okay, so it looks like only a few of you have actually, oh, there we go, a few of you have actually heard of it. You can go ahead and put your hands down. There are 2. One is specific for Family Nature Club leaders. There's a leader survey, as you can see, and then the other one is for participants. And I really need your guys' help on this. How many of you could use a $100 gift certificate to REI? Go ahead and raise your hands. I know they're all they're all flying up there. Everybody's raising their hands. I could too. So by completing both of the surveys are rather simple, but they help CNN gather important information. And if you complete the survey and opt to give your name at the end, you could be eligible to win this certificate. It's going to be a random drawing. There's a certificate for each of the 2 surveys. The goal of the surveys this year is to gather some baseline information and begin to have a better understanding of both the types of leaders that we have that we're fostering and also participants themselves as we're reaching out and trying to grow the movement and grow, family nature clubs themselves and honor families that maybe aren't in family nature clubs. It's helping us get that information, and we'll be doing the survey again in a couple of years and be able to compare and look at growth that has happened. And besides some basic demographic information, questions include things like opportunities to share how starting or participating in a family nature club has impacted you and your family. So we're looking for both qualitative and quantitative data in this. If you've already taken it, you know that the survey only takes about 5 minutes of your time, depending upon how detailed you are in the open-ended questions, of course. But I would really appreciate if you could all please post the links. Again, they will be in the follow-up email that I send out, but if you could please post the links and encourage your Family Nature Club members or friends that you know that are in Family Nature Clubs, other leaders and so forth to take the survey. We would like to get as a robust an audience as possible for this year. Okay, one other thing that's new is it's time to start thinking about Let's Go, which will be in April, but both individual families and teachers and Family Nature Clubs and other organizations and groups are all going to be participating. We really want to capture all the voices of Let's Go in 2013. In 2012, there were events in all 50 states, which was one of the goals, and I think that's just fantastic and speaks volumes to the work of the movement itself. But I also want to make sure that we capture what Family Nature Clubs are doing, because I think every Family Nature Club that I know of does at least one event per month. All we have to do is document that and submit information. As you see you'll see emails going out about Let's Go. And so it's just simply registering what you're already doing. You could do something special if you want to, but you certainly don't have to. I would like to take a couple of minutes. Alice, have you muted everyone, or have people muted themselves?
People have muted themselves for the most part.
Okay, wonderful. What I would like to do now is just take a couple of minutes to share ideas that people have, either for what maybe they did before or an idea they have to participate in Let's Go for this year, and just share some ideas to get the ball rolling in people's minds. So if you have an idea, go ahead and raise your hand, and then you can unmute yourself when I let you know that it's your turn, and we'll go from there. Heather.
Last April, we camped in Galveston State Park on the Gulf Coast for 2 nights and did a cleanup.
Awesome. And that's something that you were already doing anyway?
It was.
Okay, and do you have any plans to do something similar this next year?
We are going to go camp at Janice State Park up in San Saba in kind of northwest Texas, and I am going to try to figure out a third portion of that, but right now I don't know how to do that yet.
Okay, but you've got the ball rolling, so that's a great idea. Just make sure that when the time comes and the things are ready that you register that. Thank you for sharing that. Does anybody else have an idea?
This is Alice. I'll share one if that's okay.
Sure, of course.
Last April, our Leave No Child Inside group here in Columbus, Ohio, we teamed up with the local recreation center, and we just took a bunch of nature-related activities there. So the kids were already there, and we didn't have to worry about attendance too much. And we brought people from the metro parks and the YMCA and the zoo, and we had different activities. I mean, some of them were really simple. We just had hula hoops and kites, and the parks people brought some like animal pelts, and someone brought ducklings and chickens.
Oh, fun.
And we formed a lot of really great partnerships, and it was fun. The only thing we would probably do differently is that we avoided doing it on the Easter egg hunt day because we thought that would be a conflict, but then later we realized there would have been a ton of more kids there, and we could have just piggybacked onto that and kind of shared the day.
Great. So will you plan to repeat that activity this year?
I think we are planning to do that. Mm-hmm.
Great. Does anybody else have any last ideas before we move on? It can be something as simple as doing a beach or a trail cleanup or a pet rock party in the park. It doesn't have to incorporate the play and the serve and to celebrate. The idea is to get people out and connected. So Gail, let's go ahead and close with you.
We just had a simple tree and seedling planting party in somebody's backyard, and the kids got their hands dirty, and that was about it for the day. We incorporated it with the Earth Day celebrations.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you. And we're, as you all know, we're repeating this webinar next on this coming Thursday. So we will hopefully get some more ideas going for that. And I will also be starting a conversation, or somebody, whoever wants to start a conversation about it on CNN Connect with the Natural Families Network. That would be fantastic as well. So I'm getting ready to let Nkrumah steal the show. I invited both Nkrumah and Heather Culkin to share a little bit about their family nature clubs. And what I really would hope is that by sharing different clubs information during each webinar, we'll learn from and grow with each other as we embark on our own work in connecting all children to nature. So without further ado, Nkrumah is a husband and father. He holds a bachelor's degree in environmental biology from the University of Southern Mississippi, where he currently works as a research technician. He is a member of the Outdoor Afro Regional Leadership Team, and through his outdoor Afro work, he leads outdoor excursions around the Southern Mississippi area. Recently, Mr. Frazier founded the South Mississippi Family Nature Fan Club. Through both organizations, he hopes to reconnect South Mississippians to the natural world. So, without further ado, Nkrumah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Janice.
Sure.
Thanks for the warm welcome. I also want to thank, excuse me. I also want to thank Allison and the Natural Families Network for hosting today's webinar. As Janice informed you, my name is Nkrumah Frazier. I live in South Mississippi in a small city called Hattiesburg. This morning I'll just be giving a brief overview of the latest project called the South Mississippi Fan Club and give some background information on myself that will sort of kind of explain how I came about decided to start the club. The fan club was started just this past September, and the reason that I started it was to help my friends, family, and neighbors here in Mississippi discover and develop their relationship with nature. We seek to provide knowledge and equipment needed to participate in outdoor activities. We also seek to eliminate the familiarity, fear, and lack of financial barriers that exist for many families in order to reconnect them with the nature and the natural world via outdoor recreation. Being a very new organization, we have only had one meeting and several small mini outings where our goal is to meet at least once a month. I grew up on a farm outside a small town called Soso, Mississippi. As far back as I can remember, I spent a lot of time outdoors with my brother, just running through our hayfields. We owned several hundred acres of land, and we raised cows, and we just spent all of our childhood outside. When I left home for college, I left my rural life behind, and even though I was majoring in biology, most of my contact with nature was in the classroom, and I sort of lost my natural roots, if you will. With the fan club, I hope to embark on a quest to rediscover and rekindle my wonder, exploration, and enjoyment of the natural world, as well as introduce others to the marvels of nature. This idea was catalyzed after reading Richard Lou's Last Child in the Woods, where he spoke of a disconnect between humans and the natural world and termed it nature deficit disorder. I was fortunate to be able to attend an Outdoor Nation conference in Austin, Texas this past July, and through this conference we brainstormed several projects that could be started and taken back to your home area to implement to reconnect people with nature. And through this, I learned to just tackle problems in lieu of waiting for someone else to address them. My immediate goals for the fan club is to secure funding, to purchase equipment for various outdoor activities such as canoeing, hiking, kayaking, bird watching, etc., and to provide similar experiences as ecotourism companies to South Mississippians, but free of charge. We also seek to obtain a 501c3 nonprofit status. Some of the challenges that we face include what I consider to be apathy towards the need to reconnect with nature, because here in South Mississippi, we still have a lot of green space. You can still see trees and a lot of forested areas as you drive around. So people here don't really see the need to reconnect with the natural world because they see it on a daily basis. We are also having problems initially finding people that are interested in participating with us, and we also would like to make sure that we can keep all the activities affordable. At present, the fan club lacks membership and board members to be considered for the 501c3 nonprofit status, and not having nonprofit status disqualifies us from many grant opportunities that I have found. Some of our concerns are, do we need personal liability waivers? Do we need insurance? Will we be required to have first aid training and certification? Although I think that is important, it's a concern. Are certifications in various outdoor recreation activities necessary? And the process for applying for nonprofit status could be, it appears to be very long and tedious. A recent development as of last week is a potential partnership with the organization called the Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute in Mississippi. This would allow us to receive minimal funding from the organization. It will provide more publicity for us. It may provide assistance with running the fan club as well as potential board members, and we would have the ability to utilize their nonprofit status in order to secure grant funding. So kind of in summation, I like to say, if you find yourself saying someone needs to do something about that or whatever, that someone may just be you. One of the things that I took from the Outdoor Nation Summit was that I shouldn't wait for someone to address any concerns or issues that I have. I need to just do it myself, which is why I went ahead and started the South Mississippi Fan Club. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I have one question, Nkrumah. This is Janice. I'm thinking about the partnership that, under your new developments. I've forgotten the complete name, but the Gaining Ground Sustainability something. Or how did you find them or solicit them or engage with them?
There's several local chapters here in Mississippi, and I am on the steering committee for the local chapter here in the Hattiesburg area.
Ah.
And the lady that started the entire organization is actually from Hattiesburg. She now lives in another city, but she's from Hattiesburg, and she was here visiting her parents over Thanksgiving, and we actually had a chance to sit down and meet over coffee. And I shared with her some of this, and she wants to pick it up and run with it, but she's got to present it to the board.
Wonderful. Congratulations on that. It's nice to have relationship. I think that a lot of what we do is based on relationship, so good job.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions before we move on for Nkrumah?
Button if you have any. You know, it's kind of like going to the dentist and they ask you a question, you can't talk, you're all muted, but we will be happy to unmute you if you have something to share.
And we will also have a brief question and answer period after Heather presents, so perhaps you can hold your question, and if you think of anything while Heather is presenting, you can certainly ask Nkrumah after that as well. So we'll go ahead and move on now to Heather Culkin with Austin Families in Nature. Thank you, Heather, for agreeing to present your work as well. Heather and her husband, David, have been leading Austin Families in Nature based on Richard Louv's book, similar to Nkrumah, Last Child in the Woods. But they've been doing it for the past 4 years. And I intentionally chose 2 nature clubs, one that was just getting started and one that was pretty seasoned, to share today. Heather has a degree in biology from Rice University and a master's in teaching in secondary science. She's a national outdoor leadership graduate, and she is certified in first aid and CPR. They are also the parents of 3 boys, as you will see, one of which was born during their club endeavors. Heather is currently working as a photographer and a volunteer for the Children in Nature Collaborative of Austin and West Cave Preserve. She uses her knowledge of biology, ecology, and outdoor leadership to teach the children and adults in Austin Families in Nature. So without further ado, Heather, you are on.
Hi, everyone. I started our Family Nature Club in 2008 when a couple of friends asked me to start an outdoors club. I structured the club around what I wanted out of an outdoors club for my own family. I wanted a group of families that hike and camp together, and I wanted all members of the family to be welcome at one activity. I was already very sick of the divide and conquer parenting. We had a 3- and 6-year-old at the time, and already everyone was having to go different directions to deal with overscheduling, which is so common, I think, now. And let's see, change the slide here. Sorry. We started in 2008 with 10 families as a Campfire USA club with the same council that SNA is from. And I liked Campfire because it was flexible, and as a teacher, I kind of knew what I wanted to teach. And they let me teach what I wanted instead of teaching a mandatory curriculum. And it was very helpful that they provided insurance. As our club grew and evolved, I decided to branch out on my own and turn the group into Austin Families in Nature. We meet about twice a month during the school year. We meet at my house or a park or a nature preserve. We used to meet at my house pretty often, but now that we've got 20 families, which is about 80 people, I tend to lean more towards a park or a nature preserve now. We also do 2 service projects a year. And I always leave unstructured time at the end of every activity, which I think does the most for the kids' creativity, problem solving, and attention span. My favorite thing to do with the group is camping. The reason is that it gives us a lot more time together to do planned activities and still have a lot of time left over for unplanned activities. It's pretty amazing what the kids come up with when they have lots of time outside with other kids and with no electronics. They build boats, they build dams, shelters, fairy houses in the bushes, they play in the mud, and they explore. Camping with a group is usually easier than camping with only your own family because it spreads out the work of cooking and dishwashing. And even hard camping trips like 40-mile-an-hour winds, freezing temperatures, sleet, are usually the most memorable and the most joyous. If you look at the little girl on the bottom left, that's Audrey, and that is the look on her face after camping in 20-degree weather and a sleet storm while we were out on a boat looking for eagles at Canyon of the Eagles. The kids were so excited about the sleet on the boat that I don't think they would have been any more excited if an eagle had landed on top of one of them. I have all boys, and so a few years ago I read Michael Gurian's The Wonder of Boys. He describes boys' need for a tribe of unrelated people consistently around him that he knows he can rely on. Our Family Nature Club has provided this tribe better than I ever could have imagined. And in fact, I had a baby while leading the club. So imagine hiking and camping and leading lessons with a newborn or pregnant. And now he is dragged around by 10-year-olds, like in the bottom picture. He's put to sleep by other dads, like in this picture in the middle. That's not his dad. Well, Dave and I set up dishwashing stations, and he knows that everyone in the group will look after him. All of the kids benefit from this sense of community, but it's really most obvious with Sawyer because he really has been raised from day one, before day one, in this group. I think that the most beneficial thing about a Family Nature Club is that it creates scheduled family time. Parents are so pulled now to overschedule their kids, and that's mostly done by divide and conquer, where everyone's going different places all weekend and all week. I wanted our group to be for the whole family so that everyone could be together. I require one parent per family to come to each activity, but usually both of them come. So if anyone in the family comes, usually the whole family comes. I love waking up on a camp out and crawling out of the tent to see dads hanging out together with coffee. It's pretty rare that dads get to hang out with other dads. I love watching the kids of different ages play together. There's so many lessons learned from the multi-age group. The big ones learn how to help the little ones, even if no younger siblings, even if they don't have siblings of their own. The siblings get time to work together when usually they're so busy with their own stuff or they're age divided at school that they don't get time to work together productively. Kids get leadership experience and they learn to rely on unrelated adults. The kids in our group really like to be with other ages. They hate being age divided. And it's much more like the real world of the workplace where you work with different ages and experience levels every day. The most common question I get is how do you engage a 2-year-old and a 13-year-old in the same activity? And I have to say it's much easier than it seems. I generally plan activities that everyone can do in some way. Like this one is an activity on lashing, which is a type of knot, and it's based on Guy Vertelli's book, 50 Dangerous Things. Generally, older kids will understand the activity more or they'll do it more independently, and the youngest kids may only watch and play, but even if they're watching, they're still exposed to science, nature, and outdoor skills. And when the older kids teach the younger kids something, it cements the knowledge better than anything I could do. It seems intimidating, but it's really not very hard. Sometimes there are activities that the 2-year-olds really can't do. We've got 3 or 4 2-year-olds in our group now, and we did sound maps a few weeks ago, and the 2-year-olds really couldn't do a sound map. They can't sit still and quiet for 5 minutes. Point made, thank you. It was perfect timing. And so usually a parent will take them over to a creek or something and throw rocks into the water or dig in the dirt. In Last Child in the Woods, Luke talks about how much physics can be learned from throwing rocks into water. Our group is structured a little differently than a lot of others. Everyone signs up in August for the year, and I charge a fee per family, and it covers their campsite fees, their day hike fees, and preserves. Supplies like wood for birdhouses, journals, and this year we've bought backpacks for each child. And then sometimes it covers a fee for an expert on a hike with a special topic like edible plants or spiders. Every once in a while, we'll take an expensive trip, like an aquarium overnight in the bottom right corner there, where families split the cost of the activity. I am a volunteer, and I try to match our fee exactly to our cost for the year. And one year I got it within 48 cents. So it's, there's no profit going on at all. Paying in August allows me to schedule camping trips way in advance and to buy supplies. In Texas, frequently the campsites need to be reserved 6 months or more in advance, and that fee allows it not to be out of my pocket for half the year. I try to get dates on the calendar early by semester so busy families can set aside that scheduled family time. I think that the consistent membership that it creates helps create that sense of community. And you have the same families in and out of activities all year long, even though most of the families only come to half or 3/4 of the activities. Usually we have 30 to 60 people for each activity, half parents and half kids. I started to realize last year that the kids who have been with the group for 4.5 years have really learned a lot of ecology, biology, and outdoor skills when they thought they were just playing with their friends. So I wanted a better way to document what they've learned over the years so that they can see how much they know. Now all the kids carry nature journals that they write in after each activity. I've gotten a whole lot of new middle schoolers this year, which was surprising, and I wanted them to be able to show what they've learned being in this group, and I'm hoping that that will help on a high school or college application for them. I decided this year to give each kid a backpack, and they can earn patches or items to go in the pack, like first aid kits, pocket knives, etc. at the activities. The kids love the backpacks, and the parents love them because it encouraged the kids to pack, organize, and carry their own gear and water. We try to do 2 service projects a year, and here are some of the ones we've done. We've done seed ball making, native tree planting, and lots of creek cleanup. This summer, we're doing something a little bit different. With all these older kids in the group now, I decided that I wanted to offer a summer trip. And so we're going to take a trip to Key Largo to do marine biology, which is actually the first place I taught while I was an intern in college. And I wanted to get the kids further out into the world and doing a little bit harder science. And I wanted an incentive to keep the older kids in the group past 10 years old. I'm hoping to do a trip like this every year, hopefully a different trip each year. And some things that I still want to work on are, I want to keep the group size relatively the same but increase the reach. I'm hoping that our blog will do that. I want the blog to be a resource for other family nature clubs or just to families to help them get outside and camping and traveling with their kids. If you looked at the blog under activities and then you look at past adventures, there are 46 activities listed there with information, directions, and photos that you're welcome to use for your own group. And then in addition to that, there's 18 posts on the blog that have other ideas. And I also put up a book list with reviews of some of the things I use when I need a new activity idea. And I want to reach underserved populations better. And I want to find a way for Family Nature Club leader to be a sustainable job instead of a volunteer position that few can do long-term because they need insurance, they need an income. So we are on Facebook and also on the website if you need any help or if I can help in any way. So anyway, thanks a lot. And I guess I'll pass it to Janice or Alice. Oh, there's Janice.
Thank you very much, Heather. I think that you did a great job giving an overview of your club, and I'd like to open it up right now if anybody has any questions for Heather or Nkrumah. Just raise your hand if you do, and Alice will unmute you.
I'm seeing kind of some questions on the bottom there. Should I answer those?
Sure. Go ahead and read the question and then answer.
Okay, so someone asked if it's 200 per family and how do I differentiate family size? Of our families, there are, I think, 2 families with, maybe 3 families with 3 kids and 3 families with 1 child. And the families with 1 child have agreed that they don't mind that they're paying a little bit more per person. So basically, we just do it per family per year. Once you take out the cost of the backpacks, that ends up at about, because that's for each kid in the family, so that's roughly $140, $130 per year per family. And that's for all their campsites for 3 campouts and activities and all of that. And so it basically works out to a backpack for each kid and $1 per person per activity for the year, because we do 20 to 24 activities per year. So it really works out to only $1 per person, or $5 per family per outing is essentially how it works out. So it seems $200 seems like a lot at the beginning of the year, but it really works out to be very much cheaper than things like soccer or karate or whatever else. And how I do it with people that can't pay upfront is they can pay by activity, or they can pay by month or by semester. We're really flexible in that. I have a volunteer who keeps our accounting done so that I don't have to mess with it, because one year I was $300 in the hole at the end of the year because people didn't pay me back for campsites. That's why I do it that way now. So.
Okay, great. It looks like Bethany has a question, and then I'll let you go back down to the chat.
Hi, this is actually Jennifer Bristol from Campfire. And Heather, you mentioned for the year and then also by the semester, is the program, everybody signs up in August, and then do they go all the way through the summer, or is it follow more the school year?
It follows the school year. Everyone is traveling so much in the summer that we generally don't meet in the summer. Every once in a while, I'll do like one camping trip. One year we went down and saw the sea turtle hatchery down in South Padre, and so that was included. But we planned that a year in advance, so everyone knew.
Great.
So for Sandy Mickey, yes, if they join at Christmas, they pay half the rate. They actually pay a little bit more just because the backpacks are a large portion of the rate. So if they want the backpacks, then, and that's pretty much just for this year. The fee next year will be less because everyone will already have backpacks. It was more this year simply because everyone agreed to this idea of the kids carrying backpacks this year. And yes, I personally pay for my website, and I'm in the process of trying to get insurance, which hopefully the summer trip will pay for the insurance.
We have about 1 more minute to spend on questions. It looks like Nkrumah has his hand up also.
For some reason,
there was a question, I think, from Carla that was asked what sources are there for grant funding. There's a lot of the companies that specialize in outdoor recreation gear like REI and like Gander Mountain and just organizations like that. Many of those are more than happy to work with people who have a nonprofit status. So that's one of my reasons for wanting to either acquire a nonprofit or partner with someone with an existing nonprofit, because it would just make it much easier for us to operate and still keep everything financially available for everybody here. That was it.
Thanks, Nkrumah. Heather, I'm going to let you answer one last question from Megan, the one that's down on chat that it just got bumped down. I'm sorry, it's from Sandy. Do you have any formality to your club in terms of a 501c3, LLC, et cetera, to be able to accept and manage money? How do you do that given, I don't think you are a 501c3, right?
No, I'm not. So I've been kind of working with West Cape Preserve, which is a nonprofit in Austin, and they have agreed to accept donations on our behalf. So that hasn't happened yet because we haven't gotten any donations. But when I asked REI to donate the backpacks. We had sort of arranged that, and then REI couldn't do it. They just gave it as a discount on them instead. Right now, I'm in the process of trying to figure out, for this summer trip, I am going to take in more money and put out more money because I'm buying plane tickets and all of that and paying for the program itself, and that's going to be quite a bit of money. I've already got 19 people signed up to go, and so I am going to have to get a bank account to do that, and so I'm either going to have to get an LLC or a 501c3, and I don't really know what I'm going to do yet. I actually have a meeting with a lawyer next week to try to figure out what to do. But right now the money goes into one of the parents' accounts and they keep a track of it, and so we basically have a treasurer within the family group.
Thank you, Heather. That is actually a great segue to our next thing, which is we only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that we have time to spend just a couple minutes on this, and that's the topic of our next webinar, which is exactly that. What's next? What do we do when we start growing and expanding, or even are just starting out, but want to look at opportunities and options for formalizing our work? So we know of the obvious ones, a 501c3, LLC, there's fiscal sponsorship that Nkrumah kind of looks like might be working out for him, where you use a formal 501c3 and they kind of adopt you. There's a formal process for that called fiscal sponsorship, where you don't have a 501c3, but you're able to do grants and funding through that other organization. So that's going to be the topic of the next webinar. We're aiming for March of next year. And I want to spend just a couple of minutes on what questions are there, because I would like to do as best a job I can in researching and answering questions. So if anybody has any questions about those next steps, now would be a great time to ask. I will also be starting a conversation on CNN Connect, and you can always email me as well. But if you have any questions right now off the top of your head regarding moving forward and formalizing your work, go ahead and raise your hand and we will call on you.
Janice, this is Avery. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Oh, hi. Great. I just wanted to actually kind of put a question out to the group that doesn't necessarily have to be answered, but if people could answer maybe by email sending to you. The natural leaders are working with inner city outings, Sierra Club's inner city outings, to get trained by them so that when they take people out, they will be covered by Sierra Club's insurance. So I have no idea how that process came into being and whether family club leaders could take advantage of that. But I'd be really curious if people have Sierra Club in their area, if you, and inner city outings, if you contacted them, might that be an option? Because I know liability and insurance keeps coming up. So that was just one question. And then I just wanted to just really say I just so appreciate being connected to all of you. There are a whole lot of things that are going to happen in society and culturally for us to get all children connected to nature. And I really feel like family nature clubs are the backbone of the movement. So hearing your stories is, I think, the best way we're going to move this movement forward. So I loved hearing about Heather's son's connection to a tribe, and Nkrumah wanting to reconnect with his own childhood wonders. So I just really encourage you, as you're doing your events, any statement, anything you would share about on CNN Connect or with Janice or any other vehicles through the Family Nature Clubs about how these experiences have enriched your own lives, or your own life, or how they've enriched the lives of the people that you see. That really, I think, is one of the biggest ways we're going to move this movement forward. And I just look forward to hearing your stories and seeing your photos. When Heather mentioned, I could imagine the face of the girl on the boat with the sleet on her face. I'm not online, so I didn't see it, but I could imagine it. And I know Carmen has sent out pictures of kids in the mud wallow. So anything like that that you can help share with us, we would get that out and help inspire others.
Wonderful. On that note, Suze, I know you're on the call as well. Do you have anything you would like to add from the social media perspective?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody. I agree. It has been fabulous hearing everyone's stories.
I actually just posted on Facebook a reminder to folks to come to CNN Connect, join the Natural Families Network group, and either jump into this discussion if they missed the webinar, or please, all of you, come and continue the discussion, because that's really the place where people are connecting, sharing resources, sharing challenges, and I'm just going to continue urging everyone to keep sharing with each other. I agree this has been wonderful. I'm so glad we're going to continue the webinars, because I think it's a really helpful way to connect in a brief way with a lot of people. So thank you, Janice, and thank you, Avery.
Sure. Thank you, and that was kind of a nice segue into the closing action items of if you or your family have not yet joined the Natural Families Network, I would highly encourage you to do that. If you are a Family Nature Club leader, I would strongly encourage you to join the Leaders Network that just opened up on CNN Connect. You have to request membership, but as long as you let me know that you're, the club leader. And on that same note, if you haven't registered your Family Nature Club on the movement directory, I would encourage you to do that as well, and update your profile if you haven't done that yet. I would also, again, appreciate everyone both completing and sharing the Family Nature Club survey. After today, Suze will be posting it on the Facebook page also, so you'll have the links there. And let's go for Let's Go. Start thinking about what you might do and how you might capture people's personal stories for Let's Go this next year. And then if you have anything, any questions that come up about the next webinar, I'll be posting a conversation on CNN Connect about that, and you can also email me anything. Are there any closing questions or comments from anyone? Okay, well, I really appreciate everyone's participation, so that concludes our webinar. Thank you, everyone, for participating and being here, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Janice.
Thanks.